Hello. Hi. Welcome to your novel writing coach. I'm Sherry, your novel writing coach. Feeling like writing can be really difficult. And one thing that intrigues me as a writer and as a coach of writers is how do we move from sitting on the couch and binging Netflix all day when to getting up and actually writing? What motivates us? What pushes us from planning to taking action? And lately, especially, after the pandemic and with everything that's been going on, it is really hard to feel that motivation, that inspiration. Waiting around for inspiration doesn't happen. So today I'm going to talk about connection as a motivator for writing. If we haven't met before, I'm Sherry Peters, your novel writing coach, and I love to work with writers just like you to unlock their full creative genius, to grow their readership, to write the stories they need to write, and to level up their publishing game without self doubt, without guilt, and without imposter syndrome. So, it's hard to sit down to write. It is hard to feel like writing. I don't feel like writing most of the time. So we need to find another way to get us there, to take action. And one of the things that, as I'm doing my research on this, I'm discovering is that experts seem to all agree that it's what motivates us. Now, there's three core elements that are behind every motivation, whether it's earning money, whether it is making some kind of connection, or whether it's influence. And I've talked about influence before, and I will link to that past video in the show notes. If you want the show notes, just hit show notes and let me know in the comments, and I will get that to you. Hi, Crystal, nice to see you. Thanks for joining me today. Okay, so connection, feeling like you don't want to write. That doesn't get the words written. Waiting for inspiration doesn't happen. You're not going to ever feel inspired to write. Inspiration comes when you least expect it. So let's talk about connection. For me, this is one of the greatest motivators behind why I write. The why, right? It's the why you write. Is it money? Is it connection? Is it influence? So connection can come in three different ways. There is the connection with yourself, connection with your community, and connection with your readers, specific readers. Now, why connection is such a good motivator is that it is bigger than that instant gratification. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love instant gratification. Give me a gold star, a pat on the back. I've been doing these Conqueror virtual challenges for my exercise, and I love it because at the end I get a medal. I love tracking my word count. I love printing off the pages, but those are, to keep me, in the moment. But the bigger reason I write and the bigger motivation behind my writing is to have that connection. So what do I mean by connection with yourself? When I talked about influence, I talked about how we write to understand ourselves and the world around us. And so that's influence, to understand. When I mean connection, I mean you're making that connection with yourself. You are understanding yourself. You're figuring something out about yourself, which might come through journaling. But it is also simply spending time with yourself, allowing yourself to have that creative freedom, that creative space that we all need to have to express ourselves. The second is connection with community. As a writer, you get to have connection with your writing community. You get to have connection with the fan community. So, if you write about vampires, you're connecting with people who love vampires and vampire fiction and werewolves and all that kind of fabulous stuff. If you're writing about historical France, you get to connect with people historians and lovers of historical French history. So there's that connection with that community as well. And then, of course, there is the fan community. Kind of the fan community and the interest community are one of the same. So it's that connection with community that you get to have. Now, my personal favorite is the connection with the reader. When you know that what you write or you hope when you write, you're hoping that it's going to connect with somebody, that it's going to help somebody through a hard time. One of the best moments in my writing life is when I was at a convention and a woman came up to me, and I know we'd connected before. She'd emailed me before saying that she enjoyed my books, and she had just adopted a baby and a few months in, and it had been really tough those first few months. And she said my books helped her get through those dark hours, those dark nights. And I will get right back. Okay, Crystal, I will tell you. So the difference between the community is that you're connecting with a broader range of people. So you get to, go to conventions and you get to talk with them, and everybody tells you that they love you. But it's then that one-on-one connection with someone that says, your work got me through this. And it doesn't have to be because you wrote something deep and meaningful. I know my dad, who was going through cancer, was reading a book about people who were experiencing cancer and surviving cancer. There's that kind of connection, but there's also the escapist. People need to escape. We need to enjoy our lives. We need to connect with that story and relate to somebody in a story that can help us get through. If it's just because they laughed, it is because they cried, they went on the adventure. As a reader, I connect with the story as well. So I'm digressing here, but I'm going to tell you a quick story. Long time ago, I was having a really, really rough time. And this was when I was reading Lord of the Rings. So I'm kind of relating to Frodo with the ring and the hardships and the stress and the weight of the world on his shoulders. And, a number of years later, I was at a convention. I was having lunch with some people, and we were talking about Lord of the Rings. And I said, oh, I really connect. I can relate to Frodo. And he was like, this guy was like, so you had to take a ring to the edge of Mount Doom? And I'm like, being startled, I'm like, yeah, because that's what it felt like. So when the reader has that kind of connection with your story, that's what it means the world. When a writer gets a letter from someone who's read their work just to tell them how much they loved it, how much it means to them, it is everything. When that woman at that convention told me that my work got her through, I was like, I'm done. I don't need to write anymore. I've done my bit. But here's the thing, and here's why it is so important to use connection as a motivator, to remember that people are out there who need to read your work. Someone out there is going to benefit from what you write. Whether it's because it makes them laugh, it gives them a fond memory from childhood, if it gives them a moment of escape from their troubles of the world, if they can relate because they had to throw the ring into Mount Doom, just like Frodo. We need to tell our stories. So we need to stop procrastinating because someone out there needs to read it. So a quick recap is that connection can be our motivator because it connects us with ourselves, with the broader community, and with our specific readers. Thank you so much. I am Sherry, your novel writing coach. And until next time, happy writing.